I'm Stephen Ladwig. I'm an MQ-9 Reaper pilot stationed at Ellsworth Air Force Base, South Dakota. Today I'll be talking about AI, or artificial intelligence, being integrated into the aviation community. AI is something that I believe can improve many aspects of aviation as well as solve many problems that the aviation community is facing today. When we hear the term AI, a lot of our minds head towards Skynet and robots that want to destroy the human race. However, with AI integration into the aviation sector, it can actually help us. It'll take a lot of convincing the public to believe the sentiment, and how the MQ-9 is called a drone gives it the connotation that it is an emotionless aircraft seeking to destroy whatever objective is put in its path, much like the T-1000. This isn't representative of the truth, however, and does not bear in mind the man-hours and aircrew that are behind the throttle and stick to allow the aircraft to remain safe and effective. Much of what we have today is autonomous and acts more as guardrails to prevent unsafe aircraft operation, almost as though the software is telling us, "I can't let you do that, Dave." The MQ-9 is flown in much of the same way that manned aircraft are. Much of the flying is done autonomously, operating as guardrails in place. However, aircraft mishaps still occur. Over 80% of aircraft mishaps are attributed to pilot error. To err is human, so how can AI or unmanned aviation help prevent or reduce aircraft mishaps? What causes pilot errors to be so high in aircraft mishaps? The aviation community asks itself questions like this frequently and sets out to improve upon these questions. To start, the FAA has identified 5 hazardous attitudes that affect every pilot. These are macho, impulsivity, resignation, invulnerability, and anti-authority. Every pilot must work to first find out how they are affected by these attitudes and develop a way to keep them in check. An AI pilot not being affected by any of these attitudes will make its decision based on the real-time truth data it has presented in front of itself and with hardwired knowledge it has of the aircraft. The AI can also utilize knowledge of all past data of previous mishaps and know what will work if an in-flight emergency does occur. There is also a large shortage of pilots within the aviation industry, and in order to combat this shortage, certain measures are taking place. One such is the FAA raising the mandatory retirement age from 65 to 67. Now, there has not been any adverse effects as of yet, but it shows that there is a dire need for more pilots for the commercial industry. With the pilot shortage, AI or a pilot on the ground operating much like an MQ-9 pilot could potentially alleviate the need for two manned pilots and operate as a co-pilot. These type of operations could potentially be more appealing to pilots who do choose to get out solely because of the work-life balance and desiring to be home every night instead of on the road. With the pilot shortage, we also see airlines looking for ways to return those costs to consumers and maintain profitability. Proposals to have double-decker seats or just seats where you stand the whole flight have been introduced as concepts to maximize profits. This to me looks even lower than economy, and is more of economy degraded type seating. Not only is poor seating looking to be on the horizon, but we also have to deal with overbooked flights and where they have us check in and then wait. If we're lucky enough to make the flight, we're forced to then watch the overbooked flight attendees stand the instant the seatbelt light turns on at the gate, while they wait for the aircraft door to open so that they can corral around the luggage line to find that their luggage has been missing. How can AI or unmanned flight help this? With more pilots staying in the field due to happier and a newly found work-life balance, also with pilots being supplemented by onboard AI co-pilots, this will allow for more pilots to be dispersed across other manned flights and more pilots to become hopefully available and less cancellations that cause massive delays. An additional benefit of AI integration is that AI can likely be updated with any notices to all airmen in flight. These NOTAMs that may come out during the flight that a man pilot may not be able to be aware of. The AI could then make the man pilot aware of and ensure adherence to the new NOTAM. Aviation has also advanced beyond the point that humans can withstand. In order to develop some of the next-gen fighters, the developments are simply limited by what the human body can do. The fighters can be far more maneuverable than humans can handle, and allowing the fighter to be either unmanned or utilize AI would allow for the aircraft performance to increase. An additional human factor that AI or unmanned flight can aid in is battling hypoxia. Hypoxia is a silent killer, and in many cases, aircrew cannot tell when it is occurring. If an aircraft's pressurization malfunctions, it may not always be aware, and with AI operating as a co-pilot or an unmanned aviator, it could query the pilot and take over if needed. AI and unmanned flight can also aid the two most dangerous aspects of flight, takeoff and landing. Airbus has already developed automatic taxi takeoff and landing that it plans to field as soon as the necessary approvals are passed. The aircraft is again able to utilize truth data with the actual runway environment and execute the safest landing possible. I'm sure even after AI and unmanned flight is proven much safer and has passed the necessary litigation, many will still say, I'm not letting a robot fly me. To this point, many people also fly Spirit Airlines, even though they are usually the most green pilots, because of the low cost. If the AI or unmanned flight is cheaper, I'm sure many will try to utilize the AI flight instead. As alluded, there is still many layers of bureaucracy that unmanned flight has to pass through, and AI is likely even years behind that. Despite unmanned flight being done for over 20 years in many austere locations, it still does not have the acceptance of the FAA. Even with benefits that unmanned flight can have, the FAA has delayed this process for many times. The first such unmanned flights of traditional large commercial planes that I assess will likely occur would be that of large shipping aircraft. This would still be incredibly beneficial to the aviation industry, as this could free up many pilots to the return to the traditional passenger airlines, being that the public sentiment largely would still feel uneasy about unmanned flights. Lastly, with the holidays coming up, we will likely see many delays that maybe could have been avoided or the effects minimized with the advent of an unmanned pilot or AI co-pilot. That wouldn't be reliant on the logistics of the manned pilot making to the right city or a manned co-pilot that got sick. With those considerations, this could possibly be the face of the next Santa Claus, as the AI could fill in many manning shortfalls or an unmanned aviator could aid in as well. Hopefully, this presentation has given you a better understanding and feeling towards unmanned aviation and AI. Unmanned and AI integration won't happen next week, but I for one hope it happens within the next 20 years.